The Zerga Addendum, a companion document to the Declaration of April 4, 2026. Let me be precise about what I am not saying. I am not rejecting Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I cannot reject what he actually said. The Sermon on the Mount stands. The confrontation with the money changers stands. The radical welcome of everyone the institution had already discarded, the sick, the outcast, the sinner, the doubter, stands. Those words do not shrink because the people who claim them behave as though they were never spoken. What I am rejecting is the presumption that any institution, any creed, any council of men assembling across 17 centuries, successfully contained that truth in a package they now own and distribute on their own terms. They did not. They could not. The infinite does not fit. I am humbling myself before God, not as performance, not as religious obligation, as the only honest conclusion a finite mind can reach after 53 years of examination. I am a finite creature attempting to comprehend an infinite reality. To pretend otherwise is not faith. It is madness dressed as certainty. God is beyond language, beyond the semantics of it, beyond philosophical definition, beyond the text of the Bible itself, not because the Bible does not contain truth, but because the God it points toward is categorically larger than any text, including that one. God told Moses his name was I am, not I am defined, not I am contained, not I am available through your local institution on Sunday mornings. I am, the verb without an object, existence before every category we use to approach it. Now let me show you the chain. 300 years before Jesus walked into Galilee, Greek philosophers identified something they called the logos, the rational principle underlying all of reality. Not a God with a name. The reason beneath everything. The order holding the cosmos together. They said a fragment of this logos lives inside every human being, not given by any institution, not earned by any ritual, placed there at the beginning. Then something happened in first century Judea that mainstream religion has never fully reckoned with. There was a movement called the Essenes. Josephus documented them. Philo documented them. The Dead Sea Scrolls are their library. They looked at the temple establishment, the corrupt priesthood, the money changers, the men selling access to God for political power, and they walked away. They did not reject God. They rejected the men who had turned God into a franchise. Their communities spread throughout Galilee and Judea, not isolated, everywhere. Their ideas, direct covenant with God, rejection of corrupt mediation, the coming of something new, were the theological air of that entire world. John the Baptist came from that world. Desert asceticism, ritual immersion, the voice crying in the wilderness, crying against exactly what the Essenes had already left behind. Mary lived in that same world. Whether she held a formal membership card matters less than this. You cannot grow up in Brooklyn without knowing what good pizza is. You do not need to be Italian. You need to live there. She lived there, in that air, in that tradition of people who loved God too much to accept what was being sold in God's name. And into that tradition, Jesus of Nazareth was born. His entire ministry makes a different kind of sense from inside that lineage. The money changers, the Pharisees, the ones who turned God's house into a marketplace. He was not rebelling against his people. He was continuing what the honest separatists had already declared, that the institution had betrayed the covenant, and that God was not inside the building. Then the institutional church did exactly what the temple establishment had done. Men assembled at Nicaea in 325 AD and voted on the nature of God. They built the hierarchy. They appointed the gatekeepers. They sold the franchise. The cycle closed on itself. This is where Gnosticism opens a door, not because it has all the answers. I am permanently finished with systems that claim to have all the answers, but because it asks the right questions. It looks at the world, at the suffering, the injustice, the institutions that crush the people they claim to serve, and says, this is not the whole story. There is something deeper. There is a divine spark in every human being that no institution gave you, and no institution can take away. The path to God is not through the mediator, the council, the creed, or the building. It is through the spark itself, the fragment of the infinite placed inside you before you had language to name it. The Gospel of Thomas records Jesus saying, the kingdom is inside you and outside you, not in the building, not behind the institution's gate, inside you. I do not know God. I know that I do not know God. And I know that Jesus Christ of Nazareth, not the institutional version, not the creedal formulation voted on by councils of men, dwells in my heart as the living logos, the rational love at the center of reality, present, unmediated, requiring no middleman. That is not a rejection. That is the most intimate relationship with Christ I have ever had. I am not arriving. I am searching with clearer eyes than I have ever had. The humility is not the end of the search. It is finally the beginning of an honest one. Thy will be done. John Zerga, Jr., The Heavy Metal Prophet, April 4th, 2026.